being at Mission High School has really convinced me that we need to make a better world, and it's possible because I see people change here all the time, change for the better. I mean, my classroom is my workplace. It's my workplace, but it's a kind of home. It's a kind of home. But I will still say that my classroom is my workplace. And I just happen to be fortunate enough to do a job that I love. Well, I was born in Brooklyn, 1966, July 18th. And I only lived there a few years. And I don't remember it. It was 1 or 2 when we left. Then we went to Poughkeepsie. I lived in an apartment complex called Hudson View. And that's probably like my most fond memories of my childhood. I just also remember, now I remember, that it was like multiracial community, you know? Turkish family and Indian family and a lot of different people around, and it was a community.
I think teachers have too much on their plates, and I think they're expected to do too many things. I mean, one of my jobs as principal is to try to really help clear their plates and you know, in some ways I'm like the linebacker, you know. I want to make sure that my blocks are good so they can do what they need in the backfield in order to, you know, score those touchdowns. I think it's goofy.
I know that Andy expects that all of his students can learn the material that he's doing, and he does have a really, I mean, he has a PhD in biochemistry, so I feel like he is really able to take his high level of science knowledge and make it understandable for students.
So, without the glasses. All right, so we've got these polarizing filters. Can you show us those 2 lights? These are 2 light rays, okay? Now, is light longitudinal or transverse? Transverse. Transverse rays, okay, so they go up and down like this, okay? So what happens?
Well, I mean, Andy's phenomenal. So, I mean, Andy is one of those teachers who understands the subject deeply, number 1. Number 2, he loves working with kids, and he builds great relationships with students. Number 3, he's extremely fun and engaging in that classroom. And I mean, I've learned so much physics just by sitting in 4, 5, 6 minutes with him.
The thing that I'm learning the most about from Andy is how to work with students. I feel like he has a really great relationship with students, and I would love to use him. He's my role model for working with students and the kinds of effects he has on them.
Within the freshman year, the most gratifying thing and the most challenging thing is to see them come in when those student habits aren't really there, when those behavior habits, good behavior habits of how they treat each other aren't really there. And the challenge of trying to really help shape something that's much more of a community in the classroom. That is really neat to watch students make that transition from first semester to second semester, where you can see them kind of become 10th graders. As they graduate to 10th grade and 11th grade and 12th grade, it's just amazing to actually continue to be in their life and to continue to see them in the hallway and say hi and have them come in and make jokes and just get to know them on a different level.
Bicho do coco entrou minha casa, minha cabeça puxou sabala. Bicho do coco entrou minha casa, levou-se toda minha ilusão.
Well, I started off, you know, trouble, not liking Mr. Lipson. I started coming late to his class, arguments, getting kicked out.
Ronald was the ringleader of, in my mind, he was the central pivot point around which all the bad things that would go on in the classroom, the disruptions, the jokes, the things that were not academic, I mean, they centered around Ronald.
Came into class, you know, talking loud, saying what's up to people when they was doing work. Mr. Lipson was not liking it, so I just got kicked out. I was just disrupting, yeah.
And how many times did that happen?
A lot.
Everyone looked to see what Ronald thought of what they were saying and what they were doing. I mean, on the day he was absent, things just settled.
Then I realized that, doing this stuff's not gonna get me nowhere, so I started building up a relationship with Mr. Lipson, started communicating more, talking more, my grades started to get better. I started being a role model in my class.
Ronald just pays a little bit of attention, and he's boom, boom, boom.
I started doing all my work. I started participating in class, getting extra credit, stuff like that, helping others in class. It made me feel good. I feel like I'm actually doing something, I'm a good student. I'm actually a student who wants to stay in school and get to college, be the first person in my family to go to college.
Cuatro caminos, cinco destinos, soñé la risa, soñé la ilusión. Soñé otro mundo, soñé menos joda, soñé una mañana.
My grades my freshman year were really bad. Average GPA was like 0.75. So pretty bad. I got like mostly F's and D's. And I just didn't care about school.
What I remember about Karen, from my memory of ninth grade, sticks out the most is how she just, not through being a disruption, but by being both, by her mood of silence, fill up a room. I just remember the table she was sitting at, and she would sometimes do work, but sometimes she would just refuse to do work. But she would just sit there and just kind of be upset.
I got suspended 5 days from him because I actually threw a book at him.
All I remember is just, trying to urge her to do work, sit up straight, get your feet off the, she would just sit any way she wanted. She would put her head down, and I would just tell her not to do that, like sit and pay attention.
I was doing my work and then he just came out of nowhere and he got me frustrated, so I just threw a book at him.
Started with a book throwing, and I was upset at it, and I had pulled her up towards me, and I can't remember why I would ask her to come near me over a book being thrown, but I think maybe I had grabbed her elbow or touched her elbow or something like that, and all I know is that she took it off and kind of gave me an elbow in the arm, so it was a pretty. It didn't hurt or anything like that, but it was clear physical aggression towards a teacher, and this was into our relationship a little bit, and I was pretty upset, and I was like, called security, and she was suspended.
After I came back from my 5 days of suspension, I opened up to him, and then he also opened up too about when he was in high school and how he had struggles.
I just asked her, I said, can you just tell me what's going on? Like, help me understand what's happening for you. Not about hitting or whatever. I don't care about that.
And I told him, what's like, my family has struggles.
I just told her about how stressful my growing up was and how much I hated it and how much it made me not be able to think. And she had her hands on her eyes and just tears were streaming out behind her hands.
Mr. Lipson was like one of the first teachers I ever told about my family and how I had struggles.
I did say, I do think I remember saying I do believe you can get through this.
He just told me that it's gonna be a new start, just go to summer school and make up your grades, and I did.
Her grade point average was really low the first year, and by the second year, when I started to hear that her grade point average went from 0.8 to 0.7 or something like that, the first year to 3.5 or 3.45, that was just like, wow, this kid has done something.
It's just the thought of me saying, what am I gonna do after high school? I have to do this now, then do it later.
She just had up and decided, I'm turning the jets on, and I'm doing it no matter what the teacher is. I'm gonna get a good grade.
After high school, joining the military service.
And her discussions with her cousin who has been in the Marines, it's her female cousin actually is a woman, and from being in the Marines has a sense of agency, a sense of making decisions and being important. And I think Karen finds that very attractive. It's a tough life, and no matter what, it's going to change you. Even if you don't shoot somebody, even if you don't get shot, it's going to change you, all right? To be in that environment. And I don't know if it's going to change you for the better. In fact, it's just going to make you harder. You've been through that. This is not about you becoming harder. You've been through that. This is about you opening up, all right? You don't need to go through that stuff again.
It's a challenge.
I'm really upset with this direction she might be going in, but I'm going to support her no matter what she decides to do. It's amazing. I mean, I think the biggest change for me is to look at students who come in, no matter where they're at, and feel like it has blown apart any presumptions that I might have about where students could go. Go ahead, Jahar. Every ninth grade batch that comes in, I'm like, I don't know, you all are capable, so when you say you can't do this, I don't believe you. It's not because you can't do the work. You can.